Hi, I'm Josh Bowman, Product Manager for Cumulex, and in this video we're going to talk about our new User Settings menu. Now, if you go to the navigation toolbar on the left, all the way towards the bottom, just above your avatar, is this new Settings menu. The first field that you will see here is Device. And Device is going to give you device settings that will change settings for the device you're specifically on. The first is default views, meaning when you're in live and you leave and you return to live, or when you first log into the app, will you see the designated default view, that is the saved layout and widgets that are designated as default? Will you see that, or will you see the last thing that you used? You can see just check and check or uncheck, very simple to change, and it will affect only the device that you're logged into currently. The next thing that we can enable or disable is the live event borders. By default, these are enabled. This is the green and blue borders that you'll see here. Green means continuous recording. When we see blue, this means that there is an event taking place. This is there to let you know that recording is working as it should, or in the case of blue, you see the blue just appeared. This means that there's an event taking place. If you wish not to have that, you can simply uncheck. If you go back to live, you can see that now those borders are now gone. That will not change the status of your recording. That again is just turning on and off that visual indicator. By default, it is on. The last here is play video on load. This is referring to the process of in clips or on the search page. You can see here how immediately that clip starts playing once the video loads. If you would like to change that and require having to press play, if we go back to this clip, you can see now that the clip has loaded, and now you will have to press play to make that operate. By default, all three of these are enabled. If we come down here, these are mainly troubleshooting options here in advance, but we'll briefly cover them. Player HUD is useful for debugging. This provides information about the stream itself. As you can see, if you've enabled that, you will definitely know. You are not able to see the video at all. This is showing GOP data, speed data, all of that kind of information. You really only need that if you're working with support, or if you're the curious type, that is available for you. This is disabled by default. You can also force cloud playback. Again, this is typically for troubleshooting. Also could be if you just wanted to verify that video was storing in the cloud as expected. When you enable this option, that means it will ignore, QX Control will ignore all stored video on your gateway. It will only retrieve and play video that is stored in the cloud. And we also have Force iOS Player. This is a debugging tool where you can force the iOS player to play the video. And that is, again, just debugging, so you do not want to leave that on by default. Trickle Ice is another debugging tool that we actually by default enable. So this gathers data that could be useful in the event of any troubleshooting. So I would leave that on by default. The last option that you will see here is Stun and Turn. Stun and Turn is basically the process where QX Control in a split second will decide if I want to play video, for example, if that video is available locally and I can get to that video faster, it will actually pull that video locally from the gateway. Or if it will be faster, or if I am remote to the site, it will determine that it needs to pull that video from the cloud. So by default, you want to leave this on Stun and Turn. This means that it will pull from the fastest location, will give you better performance, and also anytime you are local to the gateway and it is pulling that video locally, that is a positive impact on your external bandwidth, on your internet connection. So leave this on Stun and Turn unless you're working with support on troubleshooting. The next section is very simple. For this avatar down here in the bottom left corner, you can personalize the name and avatar. If you choose not to upload an avatar, as I have not, you will simply see your initials. Now, a very important field within this new user settings menu is authentication. And there are two really great tools in here. First is you can see all of your browser sessions. So you can see here with my current login, I'm only logged into this particular device, and you can see all of the relevant information about it. A couple ways that this can be helpful. First of all is, I am someone that changes devices frequently because I do a lot of testing. Let's say I have returned a device, I'm no longer using it, but I did not log out. I can actually locate that browser session, and I can choose to individually log out that device. The other place that this can be helpful, of course, is if you happen to recognize the login session that should not be there. So if you have any concerns that someone has, retrieved your credentials or is logged in on a device you don't recognize, you can either individually log out each section with the trash can icon here all the way to the right. You can also do sign out everywhere. That will include your current session, and then you will need to log back in. So again, you can do sign out everywhere, which is a global sign out. You can do an individual basis, but this gives you control over where these login sessions are located. Obviously, if you happen to see one that you don't believe is you, you should do the sign out everywhere. You should log out, and I would actually follow this next step. In addition to changing your password, I would enable two-factor authentication. So two-factor authentication is great. I would use this on any app that has availability. Two-factor means that you're going to need, in addition to your typical login credentials that you've created, you also need a generated code from an authenticator app to verify that you are who you say you are. So if you go to this field and you see this information here, this means you have not yet set up. In order to get started, choose Generate Token. Once I've done that here, you can see the QR code and then a field for a code. Now, I'm not going to share my actual authenticator app for obvious reasons, but I am going to walk through this process as all of these codes are temporary. So I'm now scanning that QR code, and now it says account added successfully. We're going to then take the code that we're given. Now, these move fast. If you're a slow typer like me. Okay. So now that we have successfully enabled this, you will now see backup codes. You can either manually record these backup codes if you choose. You can also download these to a text file. You can also print them out. And the way that you would use these backup codes is if you lose access to your authenticator app, maybe you change phones and you don't know how to get back into it, so you have to start over with a new app. If you have these backup codes available, you can actually still get in, and then you can remove the authenticator app and add a new one. If you don't have your backup codes, you would need to contact Cumulix support, and you will need to verify your identity. So all is not lost, but certainly we don't want to make it easy for someone to get in without these codes, but that is your lifeline. Best thing to do is if you can keep track of these backup codes. So now that we've done this, we're actually going to go back to our avatar here. We're going to do a sign out. So now when we log back in, you're going to see here that it would like us to use the code. And my code is about to change, so we're going to watch 2, 1, okay. So very simply, that authenticator app is providing me that secondary code. It is communicating to QX Control and saying this person is safe. So now if we go back to authentication, so let's say, we've used one of those backup codes and we need to change our 2FA app, or for some reason you would like to remove it. We can choose remove. And you will need to use either one of your backup codes that were provided, or if you're just choosing to remove it, you would need to use your app. Now that I've entered the code, you can see I've removed it. I'm getting feedback that it is removed, and then I can start the process over. So again, this is something I highly recommend. Using two-factor authentication really minimizes the chances of an unauthorized login. The last section that we'll cover here within the settings menu is the offline access. So offline access means that you have the ability to basically use QX control and connect to that gateway directly if you are local to it and the internet access has been disconnected. So what you will do is you will come down and you will create your offline password, which I have already done, and then choose create. And what will happen is you will see this yellow triangle will actually disappear. So until you create this offline password, you'll see a yellow triangle. Once that is gone, you are all set up. In my case, I already have that set up. And so what that means is, if somebody cuts the fiber coming into the building, but I am sitting, here at the office, I can actually then, I will get a prompt to log in with the password that I created for that offline access. And so anything that is stored on the gateway is available to me. So any locally stored video, for example, I can also make changes to the access control settings. For example, I can still operate the doors, as long as I'm in that same local area network. And then once the internet connection is reestablished, all the events and all the video and everything will then synchronize with the cloud service once it is restored. Now, from an IT perspective, you will need to basically list the DNS information here, and we provide the information that you will need to include. We also have a KB, a knowledge base. So if you'll see here in this field, you can click that and that will actually take you to that knowledge base article that will walk you through setting that up on your DNS server. So again, that is more of an IT related setting, and we do provide some guidance here, providing the information that you would need. You can also download a list. If you have several gateways, for example, you can actually download an entire list of all of them, or you can copy those to your clipboard to make it easy as well. So you can see in my case here, I'm only local to a single gateway. So that wraps up our discussion of what is available in the user settings menu. So again, there's a lot of great options here, and I super encourage you to enable that two-factor authentication and absolutely create yourself an offline password just as soon as you are local and able to do that. That concludes this video. Thank you so much.